Today's topic, I think, is going to be a really fun conversation. What makes a man undateable? Thank you so much for joining us again on Second Act TV. Once again, I'm so happy to welcome back Joni Caldwell Lerner, the motivational coach, dating coach, relationship expert, host of Wake Up with Joni. Thanks for being here again, Joni.
Oh, thank you for having me. I can't wait to get started.
Well, Joni, today's topic, I think, is going to be a really fun conversation. What makes a man undateable? Incidentally, we just did a segment with Robert that got just thousands and thousands of views and lots of requests for doing that. Instead of what makes a woman undateable, what makes a man undateable. Well, so I came across this article that I thought made some pretty good points, and I thought it'd be a really fun conversation with you.
So I love that it's like equal opportunity examination of how to navigate dating in the world. That's really what we're here for.
So talk to me about this one. He's calling it here, I like these different titles, the no getter. That this is somebody who has no ambition, a lackluster, what do they say here, lackluster social life, poor cardiovascular health. That's interesting. And a lack of stamps on his passport. So what is that really saying, and how does that apply to our age group?
I would say they just described the couch potato.
Yeah.
So lack of stamps on a passport. You don't have to be an international traveler to be interesting at all, but getting out of the house, doing things that are interesting. Now, if you've got a couch potato and a couch potato, they probably aren't going to meet. That's the problem. And maybe they would like to, if they have the means and they can just sit there and watch TV all day. Okay. I mean, you know how I feel about adventure and aliveness and waking up and really taking advantage of our last years.
Well, I think that's the key here, is that at this point in life, if we are starting over or looking for someone new, or maybe we're stuck in that kind of relationship, how much time do we want to give to that sort of thing? So I guess you just have to decide if this person has no motivation, it's probably not going to be a good relationship.
Well, look, if you're already in a relationship and somebody now has no motivation, you've got two choices. You can get out of the relationship, which is not my first go-to for people, or you can make your own half of the life compelling and exciting and fun. And then you still have this companionship and love sitting at home, being a potato. but still, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, it gets you thinking about what you're doing in life. And I think that's why it's good to bring this up and discuss it. I like number 2 here, the green-eyed monster. I've never quite heard it put that way. But this is the jealous type, someone who always assumes the worst in their partner, and somebody who is really focused on or thinks a lot about cheating, more than likely because that's what he is,
what they're doing or has done in the past. If you're somebody who cheating is not on your radar, you would no more cheat than fly to the moon. You're not going to be going, gee, I wonder where he is. Why isn't he home yet? But if somebody's coming at you and you're a person of integrity and you're just living life and you're out there having a good time and you're being honest and forthright and all that, and they're coming at you that way, there is something there. And I had this happen to me. And it was absolutely spot on what this guy just said. He was somebody who cheated. And so he projected, that's the word, that onto me. And it was a great red flag. And I got out of that relationship within 2 months. So thank you for your green-eyed monster. But jealousy there's just no place for jealousy in a relationship that has trust and open communication. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, you brought up 2 good points. One, it's a red flag. If somebody really is preoccupied with that, why is that? Are they projecting? What are they projecting? And you just don't want to be stuck in that. I mean, it's going to be just a very uncomfortable way of living. So why even go there, especially, at this part in life, this time in life. Here's another one, the power starved prince that is constantly aware of the status dynamic in your relationship. I've never quite heard it put that way, that it's been hammered into his head that women will lose respect for him if he does too many favors or appears in any way beta.
That's insecurity right there. I mean, plain and simple. If he's insecure and he's trying to grasp power within the relationship constantly by not being someone who is of service to his partner, to me, that means devotion. And so I am of service to my partner and he is of service to me. And I don't mean servitude. I mean showing up in kindness and figuring out what would make this person happy.
Here's a good one. The entitled boy. The entitled boy man, expects everything to come easy to him in life and relationships, and he believes that he always deserves the best, and that most things are beneath him, which is why he ends up doing nothing, or why he may actually be single.
Being entitled and being selfish and being completely self-centered, you can hear that would not do well in a healthy relationship. Being entitled, it's just not attractive.
Yeah, and that came up on the segment with Robert too. Is the entitled women, and just entitled people. Period is just exhausting to be around. So if you either do that or you're observing that in who you're with, it's a very undateable quality. Here's another one: the hot-headed man-child. He focuses a lot on child and maybe I don't know if we can read into that. The man-child takes everything that you say personally and is quick to anger. He is also skilled at manipulating you into apologizing unnecessarily.
Yeah, people who are angry or use anger as a manipulation tool, it's been effective in their lives, and so they keep doing it. Using anger or any kind of negative emotion as a manipulation is just unhealthy and not sustainable. It's abusive, and eventually the person's going to say, "Yeah, this is not working for me."
Yeah, and I think that's something that can be gathered pretty early on when you're dating someone. Depending on what you do or how often you see each other, but the whole anger issue stuff is, again, why invite that into your life if you're seeing it?
If you're somebody for whom anger and being hot-headed is getting in the way of your relationships, and that's something to look at. It's not just your relationship. It's probably across the board. It's family, it's children, it's the guy at the grocery store. And so if that is true, then that might be something that you begin to look at. How would I get rid of this anger?
And again, you're inviting the walking on eggshell thing into your life. So if you're noticing that, and I'm talk to myself a lot in these segments. I wish I would have known that earlier with a few relationships that I had, but the whole anger stuff is, it's just it's a dead end.
I'm not somebody who enjoys confrontation. Conflict is normal, and out of healthy conflict comes resolution, and you can't avoid conflict completely in your life. It's impossible.
Well, and there's a big difference between like an argument or disagreement versus displaying anger. And I think that's maybe where the difference.
Yeah, we're talking about a chronic thing.
Here's one, Joni. You and I did a whole segment on this, and I so agree. The nice guy. What does that really mean? Passive, manipulative. The nice guy, he writes here, stalks his prey by lavishing his target with praise and favors in hopes of turning their fallacy of a friendship into a romantic endeavor. It's a fancy way of saying, really look behind what the nice guy really is doing.
Well, and this is important for the nice guy who's out there doing nice guy things, because I've never heard it put this way. Because usually nice guys feel like victims because they show up so nice, and these witches, aren't appreciating them. They're using them. They're whatever it is. This is very interesting, because what it does is it puts the power back in the nice guy's court. If they can realize, oh, It is a lie because I'm not being totally authentic and truthful here, because I'm trying to be nice to her so that she'll like me.
Mhm.
Now I've put myself in a friend zone, and then I can blame her and I'm the victim.
Yep.
And so I think it's incredibly powerful, this one in particular,
Mhm.
because nice guys aren't bad guys, but I think they need to take their power back and realize, oh, I'm actually creating this scenario. I'm creating these results. I can do something about that now.
Yeah, this I know the whole nice guy thing. There's a big difference between being a nice guy and being a good man. I think that was one of the points that you and I discussed.
Yes, and they're subverting their
Hmm.
own wants and desires. They're pushing them under
Yeah,
and trying to show up as what they think the other person is going to want so that they can get what they think they need to be happy, which is that person. But it's
yeah.
probably not their person.
Exactly. Here's one big one. This came up in the other segment as well. The know-it-all. The guy that has to be right all the time is. I like the way you wrote this as well. Often be found spouting off random, boring facts about anything and everything at dinner parties, where people are starting to find as much distance as possible, and he doesn't even realize that they're trying to get away from it.
Yeah. So this is interesting because it's another version of when a person is acting superior, it's because they feel
Mhm.
inferior. Maybe it's a habit. Maybe they don't realize they're doing it. Maybe they don't get that they're driving people away.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because as we talked about this with Robert, that thought came to me. This is more of a male quality, in my opinion, than female. I mean, female, we do it as well. But the constant interrupting someone
Oh,
to do the one up, or just getting the attention back on you, that how smart you are. I mean, if you have a tendency to do that and don't even realize it, really be aware of that, because it's a huge turnoff. And yes, I agree that it makes you undateable. Another one here, the armchair critic. The armchair critic judges everyone around him. Just somebody who has an opinion about everything and is not shy to offer it up.
if somebody asks me for my opinion, I will
Mhm.
give them my opinion. But if somebody's running around giving their opinions willy nilly all day
Mhm.
long, that's another form of superiority, inferiority. I just think that somebody who's sitting there judging and dispensing opinions like that is not out there living their life.
Again, I want to put that out to our audience, because I mean, we get a lot of that in comments as well. It's something to offer your opinion. It's another just to be critical for whatever reason you're being critical. And if it's a constant pattern, I guess watch yourself. Are you someone that is constantly criticizing, or when you do add to a conversation, that it tends to be negative and putting someone else down, or putting somebody else on the defense? It's a very undateable, very unattractive quality. Here's a funny one, pardon the pun: the court jester. I haven't heard that at all. The court jester is goofy, uncomfortable in silences, and a people pleaser. He wants to make sure that people are constantly happy and has a compulsive need to keep the conversation flowing. He can't seem to feel anything but happiness. Is that undateable?
It sounds like somebody who's uncomfortable in their own skin. So if they keep tap dancing as fast as you can, you're not gonna get to any depth. You're not gonna get to any intimacy, emotional intimacy. That's the problem with it. I love funny people. We've
Mm-hmm.
talked about that. I love a man with a
Yeah.
sense of humor. Oh,
Yeah.
so delicious. But if they're constantly filling the space because they don't, it's a way of keeping people at bay.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to be positive. You
Yes.
you don't want somebody there's a fine line here in this one, I think. I like you, I love funny people. I love people who are, outgoing, and who do keep conversation going, because sometimes that's hard to do,
Well, and
especially in social situations. But are you hiding something, or are you keeping the deeper parts of you hidden as a relationship goes on? It's something to think about.
Well, and what's true too is there may be some jesters out there who have zero interest whatsoever in having emotional intimacy or depth. You know, as we're looking at this, I think it's harder for people from what I've been coaching, right? The people I've been coaching, I'm finding that people over 70, it's a little harder for them to have emotional intimacy or even want it, have any desire whatsoever. It may just be that you just want a companion to sit on the rocking chair on the front porch, and that's good too.
Yeah. So well, if you're both on the same page, why not? Finally, here's one more I want to get in: the emotional adolescent. That the emotional adolescent has a deep mistrust of women and often uses generalizations about how women are gold diggers or are not to be trusted. And that comes across a lot at this part in our life, I think, because so many men have been jaded. To what extent is that affecting their life?
Yeah. And the truth is there are gold diggers out there.
Absolutely.
There are sugar babies and sugar daddies and sugar donuts. I don't know, but that may be true. But somebody who has an emotional immaturity is not going to be accountable for his part in attracting those women over and over again, because there are way more women out there of depth and intelligence and who really want relationships.
Yeah. And since this is a segment, about what makes a man undateable, to me, this is one of the really important ones and an easy red flag in the beginning, usually, that if you hear all women are this, all women, blah, blah, blah. I mean, these are people that just have an intrinsic, maybe hatred might be a little strong, but dislike of women. And you don't want to go down the relationship road with that.
Yeah. And listen, if you do that on our first date or our first coffee, thank you. Thank you so much for showing me who you are, because you just saved me a whole lot of time.
Well, hopefully we've brought up a few things here again to make you think, something that we might overlook, because let's face it, when we meet somebody who we like, we're clicking. A lot of stuff we don't want to see as it comes up. Ultimately, where's that going to lead you? I don't know. Again, lots to think about. Joni, thank you. Again, always have fun talking with you. We'll link to all of your information. And if you want to talk more with Joni directly, there is a link in the show notes. We call it a dedicated Calendly link to Joni. Obviously, you're a fabulous coach. Lots of our people are already coaching with you and watching your podcast, Wake Up with Joni. And I can't wait for another conversation soon on Second Act TV.